What if your worst nightmare wasn't just a dream, but a trap? Welcome to the Sleep Clinic, a terrifying descent into psychological horror where reality and dreaming no longer have a border. If you love horror story content that messes with your mind, hit that like button and get ready. I don't know how to start this without sounding like I've lost my mind. I probably have, but maybe if you're hearing this, if you found this recording or the files or whatever's left of me, you'll understand what I mean when I say, I don't think I ever woke up. It started a few months ago. I volunteered for a sleep study. Seemed harmless enough. I was broke, between jobs, and honestly, exhausted. Constant insomnia, this fuzzy, low-grade fog around my brain that never seemed to clear. When I saw the ad online, compensated sleep observation, healthy participants wanted, I didn't even hesitate. Clicked it, filled in the form. Got a call the next day. The place was called the Somnigen Research Center. Sounded fancy, clinical. Made me think of white walls and clipboard people in lab coats, which, to be fair, wasn't far off. The center was out in the hills, maybe 40 minutes from the city, surrounded by forest. No signage on the main road, just a narrow driveway and a keypad gate. It was all very private, very polished, like some tech startup had gotten into the sleep business. I was one of 7 participants, I think. That's what they told me at intake. Anyway, we didn't really interact much. They kept us on separate sleep cycles, and everyone seemed quiet, withdrawn, like they'd already been there too long. They gave me a badge, a private room, and a white noise machine that sounded more like breathing than anything else. Not steady breathing either. Inhale, exhale, but with the occasional pause, like someone thinking about their next breath. We were told we'd be monitored during REM sleep. Electrodes, vitals, all that. No big deal. They just wanted to study dream patterns and neural echo structures. That was the phrase. I remember because I asked what the hell a neural echo was, and the tech just smiled and said, "You'll be helping us find out."
Excerpt from audio log, subject 06, night 1.
Settling in. Bed's weirdly comfortable. Feels like it's pulling me down a bit, but that's probably the meds they gave us. Not sure if I'm supposed to record my dreams or just the act of falling asleep. But wait, my fingers feel heavy. Okay, this is subject 06. Going under. That first night, the dream came quickly. It wasn't vivid, not yet, but it had weight. I was standing in a hallway. Concrete walls, wet floor. No sound but the soft echo of dripping water. The corridor stretched out in both directions. No doors, no markings. Just a faint pulsing red light at the far end, like an emergency beacon too tired to care. I didn't move. Not because I was scared, though maybe I was, but because I felt like I wasn't supposed to. Like something was waiting for me to choose a direction, and if I picked the wrong one, it would know. Then I woke up, or at least I think I did. Back in the room, beeping machines, dim light. A nurse, thin, sharp eyes, was checking the monitor. She didn't say anything, just looked at me for a second too long and walked out. I wrote the dream down in the notepad they'd given us. Just a line or two. Long hallway. Wet. Red light. Felt watched.
Staff note, internal/observational file, subject 06, night 1, REM onset in 4.2 minutes. Sustained theta duration, 19 minutes and 43 seconds. Limbic spike recorded at 3 hours 12 minutes and 44 seconds, unusual intensity. No subject movement. Vocalization, don't let it see me.
The next day, I noticed the lights in the hallway flickered slightly. Only when I walked past a certain door, the one with the green sensor light that always blinked twice instead of once. I asked the guy at the front desk about it. He just smiled. "Probably just your eyes adjusting," he said. "Takes a few days. Common side effect of sleep medication." Only I hadn't taken the medication. I'd refused it the night before. Wanted to experience the dreams clean. He didn't even blink. That was when I started to feel the first slip, that sensation that something wasn't matching up. Like my memory of the moment and the moment itself were misaligned. Later that afternoon, I tried calling a friend. My phone lit up, showed signal, even connected. But all I heard on the other end was static and a faint version of my own voice, repeating the last thing I'd said 2 seconds later. I stared at the screen. No missed calls. No log. Battery at 6%. I just charged it that morning.
Excerpt from handwritten journal, subject 06, something is off. I think the dreams are watching me back. Or maybe the clinic isn't waking me up all the way. My watch was ticking backward for a few seconds this morning. Then it stopped entirely. Maybe it's a trick. Maybe they're testing perception. But if that's true, why does the air smell like bleach and flowers, even in the shower?
That night, I didn't fall asleep. I dropped. One moment I was staring at the ceiling fan. The next, I was back in the corridor, but this time there were doors. 4 of them, spaced evenly. No handles, just these small brass plates at eye level with numbers etched into them. 1, 2, 3, 6. Not 4 or 5.1, 2, 3, 6. My number. They'd called me Subject 06 from the start. The door marked 6 swung open on its own. Inside was a room I didn't recognize, but my body did. I started trembling. There was a crib, a stain on the ceiling, the smell of plastic toys and something rotting sweet. Something moved in the shadows, behind the rocking chair. I turned to run. The hallway was gone. I woke up choking. The nurse wasn't there this time. Just a screen showing my vitals. Normal heart rate, steady REM cycle. But I felt like I'd been underwater for hours. There was blood on my pillow. A nosebleed. They told me it was common in low humidity environments. I wanted to leave, but the front doors wouldn't open. I pressed the panic button in the lobby. Nothing happened. Then a soft voice behind me said, "You're not ready to leave yet." I turned. No one there.
Staff note, internal/observational file, subject 06, night 2, theta pattern irregularity. Subject attempted room exit during REM cycle. Monitors show full immobilization. Possible somnambulism or dissociation event. Lockdown protocol engaged. Recommend escalation to phase 2 observation.
By the 3rd night, I stopped pretending this was about science. I mean, sure, the lab coats still walked around holding tablets and nodding like they knew something I didn't. The med techs still gave their rehearsed smiles. But every time I closed my eyes, the dream got longer, heavier, closer. Like it wasn't waiting for me anymore. It was building toward me. They called it REM consolidation. Said it was normal for dream sequences to repeat, even intensify. That it meant my brain was integrating the experience. But I don't think I was dreaming anymore. That I think I was being shown something.
Excerpt, audio log, subject 06, night 3, same corridor again. I can feel it before I'm even asleep. It's like falling into the same exact moment over and over. The floor's sticky now. Doors on both sides. All numbered and whispering. I swear one of them said my name. Not my number. My actual name. But I didn't tell them my name.
That night, when I opened door 6 again, it had changed. No crib, no stain. Now it was my childhood bedroom. Not just a replica of the exact room. Posters, floor scratches, the chip in the desk drawer. But there was something off. The view outside the window was wrong. There was no sky, just a black sheet, like velvet stretched forever. And something was pressing against it from the other side. Slowly, methodically, waiting for me to notice. I slammed the door shut and turned back. All the other doors were open. Inside each one, a version of me stood frozen, slightly wrong, slightly off. One was crying. One had no eyes. One grinned too wide, like the smile was cut into the skin. All of them turned their heads at the same time. I screamed, and then I woke up. But something came back with me. Not a souvenir, not a mark. A sensation, like static under my skin, like something brushing the inside of my skull. The walls of the clinic looked grayer. The staff's eyes didn't meet mine anymore. The nurse who'd monitored my first night? Gone. No one acknowledged she'd ever been there. I cornered one of the researchers, the only guy who seemed even remotely human. Tall, gaunt, and always humming. I asked him, flat out, what the hell was going on? He said, "Oh, don't worry. You're adapting beautifully," then walked away, still humming.
Staff Memo Internal Protocol B.6 Somnigen Research Center Subject 06 exhibits high neuroplastic overlap and increasing dream bleed. Recommending phased loop testing. Do not disclose prior cycles. Subject believes this is the first rotation. Observational yield remains optimal.
That phrase stuck with me. Believes this is the first rotation. I found a terminal in the staff lounge, unlocked, unattended. Maybe they wanted me to. I searched my file. There were logs, dozens of them. I'd been recorded. Sleeping for 17 days straight. I was only on day 4. The participants, what few I ever saw, began to show up in the corridor, in the dreams. One stood at the end of the hallway and didn't move, even when I screamed at him. One tried to open a door that had no handle. One whispered a phrase over and over, but his mouth never moved. You're dreaming someone else's memory. I confronted the staff again, asked to leave, told them I'd call my lawyer, told them I'd make noise. The receptionist smiled. We removed your emergency contacts, she said, on day 8. But don't worry, you'll dream a new family soon. And then she blinked, vertically.
Excerpt, handwritten note, subject 06, room drawer, found crumpled, they loop us. That's how it keeps feeding. The dreams aren't mine. They're nesting spaces. Each time I see a version of myself in the corridor, that's someone who didn't wake up. Someone it copied. My name is fading. I wake up and I'm not sure what to answer to. If you find this, scratch your skin. If it doesn't hurt, you're still dreaming.
I started testing myself. Little reality checks, touching hot surfaces, eating bitter things, repeating phrases out loud to see if they echoed weirdly, and mirrors. I stopped trusting mirrors. One morning, I think it was morning, I walked past the bathroom, and the mirror showed me asleep in bed, hooked to wires, mouth open, breathing shallow. I turned around. The bed was empty, but the monitor was still beeping. On night 5, the figure appeared, not fully. Just a glimpse. A shape, tall and thin, made of angles that didn't belong in 3 dimensions. It didn't move. It unfolded. Its head bent forward, not down, but inward, like collapsing into itself. And then it whispered something, not in my ears, but behind my teeth. "You brought me here." I ran. I slammed doors behind me. But no matter how far I ran, the corridor never ended. The red light flickered like a heartbeat. And behind me, I heard the sound of skin peeling.
Staff note, emergency override file, subject 06, entity recognition achieved. Cognitive anchor degraded. Recommend initiation of memory decoupling protocol. If subject survives phase 3, schedule for permanent dream loop containment.
The 6th night, I didn't wake up at all. I've been here ever since. Or maybe I did wake up. Maybe this is still the clinic. Maybe it's the real world that was the dream. I don't trust clocks anymore. I don't trust names. I barely trust this voice I'm using now. But I remember one thing clearly. I was never alone in that corridor. I started hearing the humming too, not from the staff anymore. Not even in the building. It was coming from the vents. A soft, rhythmic pulse, like breath passed through a throat too long, too hollow. It would rise and fall as I moved through the hallways, sometimes matching my footsteps, sometimes anticipating them. And it was always strongest outside the sleep lab. That's where they kept the real equipment, not the electrodes and comfort mattresses they showed us. The real machines were downstairs, behind the badge-locked steel doors. And I swear on what's left of my sanity, they were not machines made for humans.
Internal memo, Somnigen Research Center, Director's Eyes Only, Subject 06 entering Phase 3. Echoes from prior cycles re-emerging, suggesting pattern memory is too deeply imprinted to fully erase. Suggest redirection via dream reconstruct loop or entity engagement trigger. Do not allow direct interaction with anchor subjects.
I don't know how long I've been here anymore. I don't eat. I don't sleep unless they force it, but I still dream. Sometimes I dream I'm in the clinic, awake, walking the halls. Sometimes I dream I'm back in the corridor, always deeper, always darker. Sometimes I dream I never came here at all, that I'm in my apartment, reading a book I don't remember buying, and I look out the window and the sky has no stars, just a thin black crack stretching across the heavens, widening. I found a file, one they didn't want me to see, labeled Anchor 001. A man's face, smiling, name blacked out. He'd been here for 11 years. They kept him in a coma for the last 5. Hooked into a loop, used as a conduit. A living gateway. That's when I realized what Somnigen really was. They weren't studying dreams, they were mining them.
Audio log, technician commentary, restricted channel. The entity doesn't originate in dream space. It manifests through layered perception. Conscious thought acts as scaffolding. The more people who dream of it, the more foothold it gains. Somnigen just streamlines the process. It's cleaner in a lab. Easier to contain, in theory.
I tried to break the cycle, refused to sleep, thought the injections didn't matter. They started dosing the water, slipping gas into the vents, whispering things through the intercom at night, just low enough that I couldn't understand, but I could feel the words curling behind my eyes. Eventually I gave in. not out of weakness, out of certainty, because I'd begun to suspect that the dream wasn't the false reality. Waking up was. The next time I returned to the corridor, it was rotting, walls weeping dark fluid, lights flickering, the red beacon now a blinking eye, wide and unblinking. The doors were gone, except one. The last door at the far end, one I'd never seen before. Tall, too tall, almost cathedral-like, made of something black and soft and moving. I approached, and it breathed. Inside was a vast chamber, not spatially possible, not within physics as we know it. It looked like it had been carved from the inside out, a cavity in the shape of a dream. I in the center, a chair, strapped to it, a body, thin, wilted, tubes running in and out, its mouth open in permanent scream, eyes dry and red and rolled back. I got closer. It was me.
Emergency field note, researcher C. Delaney, unscheduled entry log, subject 06 breached subconscious overlap barrier. Confirmed full self-confrontation. Result, localized temporal break, sustained. Initiating perimeter lockdown. Possible entity manifestation in physical space. Evacuation not advised. Observation to continue until subject collapse or successful merge.
It spoke to me, not the copy in the chair. The thing behind it had no shape, only intention. It said, "You were always mine. You just didn't remember how many times you'd chosen me." And I did remember, not all the details, not the first time, but flashes of other lives, other rooms, other clinics, always volunteering, always walking into sleep. I was the perfect subject, the perfect door. I wasn't being studied. I was being used. I screamed. The walls collapsed inward, and suddenly I was back in my room. I in bed. Monitors beeping. Everything normal. Too normal. The walls too clean. The hallway too quiet. The staff smiling too much. And on my nightstand was a brochure. Somnigen Research Center, awaken your mind. We're glad you're joining us. Subject 06. But I'd already been here. I'd already escaped. Haven't I? I looked in the mirror. The man staring back blinked out of sync. The only thing worse than not waking up is thinking you did. They told me I'd passed the test, that the study was over, that I'd been asleep only a week, but every part of it felt like a stage play. Too clean, too cheerful, too scripted. I asked to call someone, anyone. They handed me a phone with no dial tone. I asked what city we were in. They said, north of the dream line. I asked what year it was. They smiled and said, which one would you like it to be?
Redacted log, Somnigen Executive Oversight, Subject 06 has reached containment threshold. Self-identity fractured but intact. Spatial logic adapting to recursion. Dream bleed now fully integrated with waking patterns. Entity pleased. Cycle retention assured. Proceed to loop breathe back protocol.
I found others, people like me. Or at least, versions of them. One man kept folding origami cranes and whispering apologies to each one. A woman painted the same door over and over until it opened. One boy never spoke, but his shadow mouthed words he didn't. We shared something. We all remembered waking up, that we all believed we had escaped once, and we all knew better now. One night, I followed the hum again, down to the maintenance wing where the maps end. There was no lighting, just that soft, familiar resonance pulsing through the floor. There, behind a rusted panel, I found the true heart of Somnigen. Not servers, not machines. Tanks, lined wall to wall. filled with something thick and dark and moving. And floating inside, bodies, all of them asleep, all of them dreaming, all of them me. Some had mouths open in mid-scream. Some had no faces at all. And one, at the very end, opened its eyes as I passed. They were my eyes.
Fragmented field recording, unknown source. Each subject isn't just a test case. They're a node, a seed. The entity learns from them, inhabits them, then sends them back into the world, dreaming still. That's how it spreads. One dreamer at a time.
I tried to destroy it, grabbed a metal bar and smashed the nearest tank. Black fluid sprayed across the room. The alarm sounded, but the body inside didn't stop breathing. Instead, it smiled. The fluid began to reshape, not flowing, but crawling like it had purpose, like it was watching. I ran, but the corridors weren't the same anymore. Now they breathed.
Memo, emergency systems lockdown, containment breach simulated. Subject 06 now entering end loop sequence. Emotional rebellion confirmed. Pattern stable. Entity phase complete. Door open.
The final dream wasn't a corridor. It was a field, endless. Black grass swaying under a crimson sky. In the distance, a single monolith stood, impossibly tall, covered in etched glyphs that rearranged when I blinked. Its base. A door, the first real door, not numbered, not humming, just waiting. When I stepped through, I didn't fall. I floated. I unfolded, and I saw them all, the other subjects. Not bodies, not individuals, just reflections rippling across layers of thought, all of them dreaming the same thing, me. I understood then, not with logic, but with sensation. I had never volunteered for a study. I had never even been awake. I was the prototype, the first anchor that allowed the entity to cross. Each dreamer after me built another rung, and now the ladder reached back to the waking world. Somnigen wasn't real. It was the mask it wore.
Final log entry, subject 06, timestamp corrupted, if you're hearing this. I failed. I thought I could resist. I thought the mind was strong enough to shape the dream, but the dream was never mine. It was dreaming me. Asterisk, don't trust the mirror. Don't follow the humming. And if you see the door, don't open it. Asterisk.
I woke up this morning. My apartment looked normal. Coffee on the table. Radio playing static between songs. But when I glanced out the window, the sky had that crack again, and the brochure on my table read, "Welcome to the Somnigen Research Center. We're honored to have you back." I think I screamed, but the radio just whispered, "You never left."